This is my son, Amir, and this is my daughter, Maeve. Amir's almost 4. I want to ask you a question, Amir. Do you like reading? Yeah. How much do you like reading?
A lot. Super much.
What's your favorite story?
What fun! Then they wearing our costume to looking like a deep.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for answering my questions, Amir.
Good luck.
Literacy rates are plummeting and more teachers are quitting because kids don't want to read and they don't care. And the older your child gets, the harder it is to get them to read. If a child has a choice between playing video games or reading a book, which one do you think they'll choose? How can we get children to, when they're feeling bored or need entertainment to relax, to pick up a book instead of going on their phone to watch short form content? And the biggest question of all, how can we develop a habit of reading for our children? The important thing you can do is to start young. You'll have way less arguments and you also have more control over their technology access. The tips I share in this video will help you get started on how to develop this habit of reading in your child so that they love reading. And you can still do this if you give your child an iPad. Because long story short, I used to give my firstborn son an iPad. Thankfully I don't anymore, only when we're traveling, and I still managed to follow all the tips that I explained in this video. I'm filming this intro a couple of days ahead, so let's jump back a few days and get started with the first tip. My number one tip in trying to have your child have a love of reading at a very young age, like below the age of 3, is to start reading yourself. It's probably the hardest one on this list. At a young age, your children are still deeply influenced by you. Children do as you do, not do as you say. And long before I had kids, I saw this picture of this woman on the subway reading her own book and then her child on her lap reading a book as well. That kind of made me implicitly understand that children, especially young children, would want to do what you are doing. And once you have kids, your kids want to do everything that you do. You're cooking, they want to help you. You're cleaning, they want to help you. You're on your computer, they want to see what you're doing and they want to go on the computer too. It's everything. Little kids want to do everything that you do. Thankfully, I've loved reading since I was a kid, and I've kept up the habit like forever. Like I don't remember a time where I wasn't reading a book. And once your child sees that you're not on your phone all the time, but you're reading when you're bored or you're relaxing, then your child will also do that. My advice with this is to not read books on your phone so that your children can see that you're reading a physical book, because they're not going to be reading books like on the phone or a tablet. My next tip is to start your day with reading and then end your day with reading. So in the morning, as soon as my son wakes up, 9 times out of 10 we read a story while he drinks his hot chocolate and I drink my coffee. Before we go to sleep at night, we read a book as well. These are just 2 great times during the day where it's slow and you're not really doing anything, that you can really squeeze in that reading time. But don't make this like only read in the morning and only read at night. During the day, you can squeeze in reading time as well. Having these consistent times in the day and then doing them every day is a sure way of making this reading a habit in your child's day-to-day. It's the afternoon now. It's almost 1:30 and I'm gonna be reading this with Amir.
Thank you.
My third tip is to get books that will make your kid cry and laugh. So I'm going to leave a bunch of books in the description that have made my child laugh and cry. If you're a reader and you think of your favorite book, there are books that made you cry, right? Or made you have big emotions. And if you're a reader, that's what makes you love reading these stories, because You connect with the characters, the story, the plot was amazing, and it's the same with children. If you can find those books that connect with them, are humorous. So my fourth tip, which I use a lot, is if your kid comes to you saying that they're bored or they don't want to play by themselves, then just start reading. Like, it's the best way to squeeze in reading time, and they're more likely not to say no to it, and they'll sit down and listen. My fifth tip is to make reading the activity as easy and accessible like pulling out your phone. So to do this, you need to have books everywhere. I have it on my coffee table, I have it on the bottom shelf of the bookshelf, and then in the bedroom I have all the books I have for my son. And in this way, if we're sitting in the living room, we can easily grab a book. If we're sitting in the bedroom, we can easily grab a book. To make the habit of reading easy as possible is to remove the friction of looking for a book. Just put books everywhere and you'll eventually start reading. My sixth is to don't force it. If your child is not interested in reading a book or not interested in reading in general, then I would get a different book or not read at all. Sometimes when these moments happen, I will start reading like a book with my daughter and say, ooh, that dinosaur, or wow, that's so interesting. And that usually brings my son over and saying, oh, what is the book about? Please read it to me. Another way I do it is I'm on the floor with my daughter and I'll just start reading the book, and then he'll eventually come over and listen to it. That is another way in getting your child interested in reading, is just to start reading even when they're not there. The last tip I have, which is an obvious one, is to get books based on their interests. So my son was interested in Spider-Man. I got him books about spiders, and one time he was watching Paw Patrol or Peppa Pigs, and I got him books on those. And they might not be like the best literature out there, but at least it gets my son interested in the reading process of watching, or listening rather, to what his TV characters are doing. Other popular tips that I've tried, and some of my notes on them, use silly voices or different voices for different characters. I don't know why little kids love silly voices, but they do. And a particular story I love reading with different voices, or silly voices, is called The Gruffalo. But don't take this tip too seriously. Most of the time I'm not high energy enough to read silly different voices, and when I read calmly, it's still enjoyable. And it's better to read calmly and quietly rather than not read all, because you think that you have to be reading with silly voices or different voices all the time. Another popular tip is letting your child pick the books. And most of the time I do let Amir pick the books, but how will he be exposed to new kinds of books and find his new favorite book? It has always been me picking out, oh hey, let's read this story, instead of him picking the same book over and over again, because he will pick the same book over and over again, and I do read them, and that's not a problem. But I try to every day always pick the books that I want to read to him and see if that we like it, and then maybe it'll be his new favorite book. Another popular tip is to create a cozy reading space. I see examples of this online, like a little tent or a little nook in the house with blankets and lights and all sorts of stuff. That is nice, but it's better to create a habit of reading that's not dependent on location. If it is dependent on location, then you're not likely to pick up a book at, say, a couch or on the bed or anywhere else. The last popular tip, of course, is to put down your phone. Try not to use your phone in front of your child. When my son had turned 14 months old, I quit TikTok and Instagram. And now the default thing that I want to do when I'm relaxing or bored is to pick up a book, and my son can see that rather than pick up my phone. So those were all my tips in sparking the habit of reading with your young children. I hope this was helpful, and I truly believe it is so important to get them to love reading while they're young. And if you ask any, mom whose kids are older,
If you ask any mom whose kids are older, you know, in their preteens and stuff, and getting them into reading, it's extremely hard to build this habit of reading because playing video games and going on your phone and watching videos is just much more stimulating than reading a book. So if you start young, they'll have this love and habit of reading, and it won't be as hard for them to read in the future. On my channel, I make videos about homeschooling. So if you want to watch a video about me describing the things I regret about being homeschooled, I'll link that video below. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.